it's kind of incidental that we're recording it live, but it's be there forever. We can always push it later, create events around it and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
So basically, maybe I'm just gonna dance,
It's a Friday, like you said. It's a Friday, so I had actually forgotten that it's a Friday. She reminded me. Yeah. Okay, I have it. Okay, it's live on Facebook. Let me send a link to you so you can share on your wall and social graph, Twitter, wherever you want to share.
Exactly.
WhatsApp. Yeah, let me share on my wall too. That's Facebook. Do you want the YouTube link too?
Yeah, I think the.
Exactly. Yeah, let me share on my wall too. That's Facebook. Do you want the YouTube link too?
We are live,
Yeah, we are. We are. Oh, Mike Master has a new song. So while we're warming up, we can be sharing the link. Let me share, and a couple of people can join. And let me send to Isaac too.
Yo, King Guns kill this boy. I'm so jaded, and I'm so peaceful.
So my partner is actually in Nigeria. Let me send him the link. He's in Abuja. But how is the Friday over there, Nelly?
It's been a long week. It's crazy. My brain cannot put two sentences together, two words together. So we'll see.
Yeah, I hope that this conversation can help with that. So
I love the music already. So please, for the people that will be listening, I'm gonna be dancing from time to time, just to chill out. It's a Friday after all.
Mashallah. So to those that are joining, thanks for joining. We'll be chatting with Nelly. So we could summarize this as a concert of wealth and life. So we'll just be chatting about everything. Nelly just said it's Friday, the week has been long, and if we look at it, behind that statement there is the idea of time and what we do with time, how we deal with time, and if we look at it deeply, it will just connect directly to the kinds of things that we will need to talk about today.
I like how your brain works. Definitely. It's about time, and you put in energy, and then you have the whole picture. And then you can stop there, right? Because we just what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah. That's a lot. And you grew up in France, right?
Oh no, I grew up in Cameroon. I'm proud Cameroonian.
Oh, okay.
I went to school in Douala. I left Cameroon when I was 17 after my high school diploma.
Wow. 17. And then, so anyway, we'll be warming up with that while people are joining. And did you want to go? How was it? Can you remember? What did it feel like to the whole process of knowing you have to going, thinking of leaving, all those kinds of stuff? How was it?
Oh, I guess I had been prepared to go because I did my last 2 years of high school in the French high school, Dominique Savio in Cameroon. So I was pretty much already in France. Even though I was going home after school to Cameroon, but while you are in the school, you are already in the French system. You have like a diverse range of friends friends, so you're already out there, right?
Yeah.
And I also felt like, I just wanted to escape my home. I wanted to live by myself. I
Yeah.
wanted to be free. You are 17. You kind of see these things of living in your own apartment, of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
everything. But believe me, 2 months in, I wanted to come back.
I see. I see. Mashallah, 17 in France, different country, and so
Yeah.
I mean, some of us at that age we went to Boya, and it was
Mm-hmm.
fun. The first days your parents are not there, you're not worried about going home late, and
Yes.
and then yeah, but like you say, after a while, something happens. I have a friend. He said, Perez. He's actually a developer, electronics, DJ, lots of stuff. He wanted to go back. He came from Douala, and then in the
Yes. You
morning he
see?
saw the mountain, the Boya Mountain, just there, naked, green, blue.
Oh my.
That's how he just stuck. That's what made him to like just
Yeah.
settle. So for you, what was it?
Yeah.
What was it that at that point when you're living? Maybe you learn different stuff. Like me going to the university, I began to realize that the chemistry or math I learned in high school was kind of summary. And now I'm going deep and stuff, and then I began to fear what it is that I wanted to be. So I'm wondering if you went through any stuff like that, when especially like being out of the country and then thinking of going back and then thinking of the future and stuff like that.
No, I think that for me, what was really different was like the perception like other people will have of me, because in this tiny city in the north of France, and they seldom saw like black people, like a black teenager. So it was kind of weird for them. It wasn't so much for me, because even though maybe they had prejudices, I think at that age, and given like I grew up in a loving family that
Yeah.
gave me the strength, the confidence, I was really grounded. So I was able really to look at them and see what are they talking about. And people will even make like comments about Africa, about us leading the jungle. But I would look at them not feeling inferior, but feeling superior. Like, oh my goodness, these people are the real animals. They don't even know where Africa is, they don't even know where Cameroon is. How can they be so dumb?
Yeah. Right.
And I put that in comparison with all my friends that were also, some of my friends that were black and
Yeah.
that were born and grew up in France. They felt those comments differently than I, because they had lived through constant like racism and undermining them. Oh,
Yeah.
so yes, so they had a different experience than I.
Mashallah, I see. Oh wow. And then now, so I mean, all this time you having that kind of deep understanding and coming from the background that is caring enough to give you that thick skin against things like this, it 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 means you see some core values, and let's say, let me use the word wealth because we'll come to that, like of Africa, that wealth, be it in terms of culture and all of those, they were able to like shield you from maybe seeing yourself as someone who is provoked and then getting maybe unhappy from that. So it's nowadays it's easy for people to just fall off the wagon. It's easy for people to just fall off the wagon and then not really know what to do, especially if you look at Africa. Poor governance, roads, education, and things like that. So I'd like to begin with the end. Let me ask the question that I hope that it actually doesn't get you too tired. So from your experiences, like traveling, learning, being an engineer, being a technologist, being a modern Renaissance woman, do you think that everybody in the world can be happy and wealthy? Is that possible?
I think it depends. Uh, the short answer is yes. The short
Okay.
answer is I truly believe that wherever you are, you can find the path. It's not easy, that's for sure. Some people have it easier than other, but it's think of like when you are in school and you have different classmates, right? You always have different classmates that just needs to listen to the teacher once and then is able to ace all the exams. Whereas maybe you struggle a little bit more. You have to go home, you have to study 2 3 hours, you have to wake up at 3 a.m. before school to study again to hope to have like average notes, right? But you do that, you put in the work because you know that my end goal is X. So I have to put the necessary amount of effort to capture X.
Yeah.
I don't need to look at the other people that had it easy because maybe in that space, that's kind of how easy it is for them. Maybe in another space,
Yeah.
it's easier for me than them. Maybe in the fitness space, maybe I'm a better singer, maybe. So that's how I look at it. And even when you look at happiness, like what is basically happiness? My definition, my happiness is like my relationships with the people I love, right?
Yeah.
The people that like my close entourage. And for that, you don't need anything. You just need to work on building those meaningful relationships with people that you care for and that care for you. So whatever you are, wherever you are, you can do that. And what about wealth? I think we start being unhappy about wealth when we compare to others, right? Because the way I see it, like when I used to be little and I used to go back on vacation in the summer to my village in West Africa, in West Cameroon, I used to see those kids like having nothing, like, with, how do I say that? Like dirty shirts, like even no pants, no shorts. And they were using these sardines, about to make like cast, right?
Yeah, right.
Or they were using bamboos to make chains. And the happiest kids, they were the happiest kids like in the whole world for me. And when they started thinking that they were not that wealthy, it's when I will come from the city with like in the morning I will eat bread, I will eat like pate, I will eat chocolate, and then they will eat food. They will start thinking like, oh, maybe because we don't have money, we cannot afford to eat like breakfast like her. But before they saw me, they were they felt quite wealthy, right? They had the toys, they had everything they needed. So I also believe like to live like a happy and wealthy life, first, I mean, you have to build close relationships with the people you care for and the people that care for you. And the second thing is that you have to stop comparing yourself to others, right? You really have to be strong enough to ascertain what's the minimum you need to be like, once you cover your basic needs, you are wealthy.
Excellent. Yeah, I see. That's actually a realization that when one gets it, or if one experiences it even for 5 minutes, you feel some kind of change. Because I remember I've had such feelings, like just not perpetually, like just the few moments when I'm like, okay, maybe I've eaten and I've had what I want and I don't worry about any other thing. It's always a very magical experience. Like it makes it I'm present and I can be calm and I can even, I really enjoy life as perhaps it's meant to be. So yeah. So anyway, thanks for that, Nelly. That was actually really, really powerful. Like if while you are describing those, I'm painting the pictures in my head. It's a kind of experience. You see, like these kids, as a kid, to my happiest moments, or even the things that I can do that are special today, are things that are rooted in the village. Like I grew up in my village. Like as a kid, when my servants would help each other work on your farm, you come and work on us. Like I remember learning how to take minutes from the small association. I remember how to do many things that when I do today at work, people are like, how you learn that? But it's from the village.
And what, you touch another point, like when we think about wealth and when we look at it from the European or the Occidental eyes, right?
Yeah.
Wealth is something that is individualistic. Like wealth is something you build for yourself, that you are proud of. I'm wealthy. And I feel like when you are in Africa, wealth is about community. For me, I don't think that as a true African people, you can, I mean, when you are wealth, it's when you make also your community wealthy, right? That's how I saw like the most inspiring people that are wealthy in Africa do. And also because since maybe we have less means than others, we know the power of the community to compensate for the things that the materials that we don't have easy than others. And it's unfortunate that as we manage to get a little bit maybe more money and more at ease, we forget the power of this community. Because just imagine an instant if this power that we value when we are maybe poorer, we can keep it as we become a little bit less poorer. It will really make a lot of communities and a lot of individuals completely completely at ease, and it will help a lot our countries. And maybe we will start relying less on waiting for a savior to save us, to do everything, to fix everything for us, because we know that through our community we can already achieve so much. And instead of looking at the top and waiting for the top to show us, because like we say, oh, the leaders should show us the way.
You're right. Exactly.
Maybe the leaders are the communities, right?
Yeah.
What if the bottom could show the way? What if like communities started cleaning their neighborhoods, cleaning the city in a way that the mayor, the council start saying, oh, what are they doing? Do they want to show us how to clean the city? Let's show them. Now, instead of, taking the money for us, we're going to actually hire a proper company to clean the city, because we don't want this stupid community to show us how to do it. So that's my sense.
Mashallah. Thanks a lot for that. That picture of that community spirit and the way you painted it and how it shows us the spirit of entrepreneurship and this whole engine, which is actually societal, that can make people flourish and also show an example to those that are leading, and a virtuous cycle that it will just go around, and we would even know the leaders. We would even know the real leaders from that community spirit. We can't really know who would lead us if we don't have a community. If we just have to meet like 1 week before we go and vote, and then we eat sardine and go back. So that community spirit actually helps us really know who leaders are. But now what I'm thinking of, talking about communities, we often learn from the ancients. So I am wondering if we are the ones that are ancient and then they are modern, or we are like modern and they're ancient. Because if I want to really understand arithmetic, I have to go study Pythagoras and the other people. Philosophy, you do so for Plato. It's not like today there's someone I will go study today. You see, so it's like they are the modern people. So that makes me wonder sometimes that if we look at the output, the effects of their works, and we try to extrapolate from it the community effort that they put together, it's evident in their results, the pyramids and things like that. So, but what is it that, if that's the case, it means there's some sort of a decline? Yes, we have gone forward in terms of technology, but what is it that can cause such a thing? Why are they the modern ones, if that is possible?
I'm so happy that you asked that question, because, whenever I go to a museum, I'm always, I can stay like for hours looking at a Monet, looking at a Picasso. And when I call upon like those new that they call contemporary art, I understand nothing. I feel nothing. And I'm like, how did we get there? Like, how did someone think that putting toilet papers on top of each other could be hard? Like, how could we move from like Gauguin, Monet, and all those brilliant painters to the craft that I'm seeing now? And I just, I mean, thinking about it, I felt like as the life became modern, right? People felt like being idle, it's like a problem. So we want always keep busy, to always keep our brains busy doing stuff, And when you look at how people live in the ancient times, they actually practiced a lot of contemplation, right?
Yeah.
You were contemplating, you were sitting there, you didn't have TV, you didn't have like podcasts, all those things, entertainment that are distracting your mind.
Yeah.
You were just concentrating, looking around you, making connection, making your brain, your neurons works, and making like word connection, and then the results are what we see.
Yeah.
The other thing I think it's also can be also a cause of it is like as of today we live in a hyper specialized society.
Okay.
Like if you if you graduate as an engineer in computer science, you are supposed to work in computer science your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Whereas look at how Leonardo da Vinci, for example,
Yeah.
lived. He was a writer, he was a sculptor, he was a painter, he was an engineer, he was
Everything.
everything. He was a mathematician, he could be everything. And I think even when I look back at my own experience, that's why I always try to do. I never like to be put in a box, right?
Yeah.
I always like to do different things in different areas at the same time because I feel inside me that I am so much more than where people want to place me, that I need to do whatever I want. I need to go wherever I feel like, because I'm also aware of the fact that life is very short.
Yeah.
You know, you have practically babies getting born and dying. So why will you expect to like kind of plan your life for like the next 80 years? Like if today was your like the last day, would you have spent it the way you spent it? You know, this is the question I keep asking myself every single day. And that's also how I make life decisions, because I keep asking myself, what is this crap? Especially when you work in corporate, right?
Yeah, right.
Sometimes, like,
Exactly.
why am I, you know, why am I tolerating that?
Yeah.
Why am I like, what do I need? Do I really need to live like in that fancy house, apartment in a city or in a country that is foreign to me? Like I have basic eating. I don't need to eat caviar. I don't need to eat salmon. I need to eat poisson, you know. I need to eat like I need to eat soya. I want to eat yes, I want to eat eru.
Yeah.
So how much does it cost, you know? So yeah. I think I went a little bit astray, but
No.
let me
Hey,
there.
that's not astray actually. I mean, you know, minds like yours, you see connections in things. And you also spark connections from things. Like you mentioned, when you watch Picasso and the rest, it like evoked a kind of feeling in me. It reminds me of, I mean, you know, contemporarily, in the same way that lots of people will argue or they think society is very troublesome, boys, girls, they always have issues. They forget that it's because of the way we grow up. And maybe a guy with lenses, they will say he's a nerd, and then everyone will bully him and things like that. So people often think that the connect, we have just limited connections. The connection with being cool and or being a bad boy and bad girl is that you enjoy more than the person with lenses, not knowing that someone can look at the painting or read code or read a poem and then absorb some kind of energy and enjoyment, which is really wealth when we look at it in terms of like time, society, as you've said. So no, you didn't go aside. It's just really amazing listening to that. And I mean, similarly, when we see the effort, when we look at it, things too like that, we see possibility, right? Like let me give you an example. In the computer, we think we only have ones and zeros, but we can have patterns in it in a way that I could have tables, because that's what's normally happening. All this picture it ends up as ones and zeros, but there are people that will format those ones and zeros into tables, transpose them, do kinds of magic that when you look at it, you're like, what? So life is really amazing. So maybe you should take that opportunity to tell us if people can also get value and how we can really get value from things that are not contemporary, like how somebody can read poem, how someone can execute a business plan, or how someone can start a business. What kinds of enjoyment can someone get from that? And please put in as much experience as you can.
So I would think that you first need, for me, the way I classify the things around me are, or the things I'm doing are, like, is this thing give me, replenish me with energy, whereas is this thing deplete my energy,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of the first classification you need to do.
Sorry, sorry,
Let me give
sorry,
you an example.
sorry. Let me disturb. I just thought debit and credit. So you're thinking if this will give me energy or if I'll gain from it. So sorry. Continue. I was just fascinated by that.
Yeah, so let me give you an example, and
Yeah.
this will also show you how I made a decision
Yeah.
to leave like everything behind in France and
Yeah.
come back to Cameroon. Like my last experience was chief data officer at the leading French and Portuguese gambling company, Betclic
Mashallah.
Group. People might know it. So what is a chief data officer? Because we are still like in tech.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, I was there. I was the first hire of department, and my mission was to structure and capture value from the data generated by the customers betting on
Yeah.
sports events, by maybe some affiliates bringing us some customers, by also the tech team, the servers, the logs,
Wow.
everything.
Uh huh.
So I built like a team of 30 people across 3 years,
Mashallah.
and starting from like data engineers, so the people that collect the data, that structure them into way that is kind of more absorbable, and then to like the data analyst, so the first layer that take the data and produce all those beautiful reports, then exec and the team can also feed on to take decision.
Yeah.
Like for example, how much did we sell yesterday?
Yeah.
Like what was our profit? Moving to the machine learning engineers, because then after you go through like the analyzing what you did in the past using your data,
Yeah.
you want to predict a little bit the future, like how can we predict the sales that we're going to do tomorrow or a week from now,
Yeah.
or how can we tweak the system so
Yeah.
that the prediction like that we did is kind of twofold or tenfold.
Yeah.
So this is what artificial intelligence folks, so data science, machine learning engineers were doing. And then I had a team of data ops that were putting those algorithms to production and making sure that the models were still accurate. So this is
Mashallah.
what is a chief data officer does. And then you put in some data governance, data quality, like making sure that you have a single dictionary, because sometimes in a company you can ask someone, oh, what do you call a turnover? And marketing as a definition,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
sales as a definition,
Uh-huh.
like everyone. So you need to make sure that we share the common language.
Yeah. Right.
So I was doing that, and for a while it was fun, right? But at some point, I was entrenched in politics, because obviously, when you sit, you are chief data officer, you have
Yeah.
finance that is pushing away, you have marketing that wants you to tell that their
Yeah.
marketing campaigns are always successful.
Yeah.
Then you also have you are always pulled in different direction, and then you get entrenched into corporate politics,
Yeah.
especially being a black woman as an executive committee in France. This is
Yeah.
kind of very weird.
I can imagine.
And yes, and that's when on the side I had this side project where I wanted to onboard like some young people in Cameroon
Yeah.
to start thinking about how to use blockchain and do stuff. So I was lucky. My parents lent us like a small apartment that was empty, so
Yeah.
we put together there and we started experimenting on blockchain, right? And I remember the constant feeling that I had whenever Monday would come and I would go to the office, to this fancy office, this fancy like I don't know, like position,
Yeah. Right.
like you are working in the city, you are someone, you are
You go for lunch.
yes, the world company is trying to burn us, because out of like a 600 company, you are in the top 5, so you are basically gods or goddess.
Yeah.
And then you still feel empty, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you
Yeah.
go there, at the end of the day, you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I cannot take it anymore.
Yeah.
And then you get home and you jump into the side project about blockchain, about stuff and then you keep reading, you keep experimenting, and then it's suddenly 2, 3 a.m. and
Mm-hmm.
you still at and you are not tired anymore. You say, come on, I was tired. I was on the brink of death because
Uh-huh.
I was so physically tired. How come I could stay up so late to do that? So this
Mashallah.
is how I started identifying the thing that was replenishing my energy and the thing that was depleting it. And then once you identify that, the second aspect is having the courage. Is
Mashallah.
having the make a choice,
Mm-hmm.
because some people don't like the choice is complicated. People don't like to make a choice because maybe they are afraid to make the wrong choice,
Yeah.
and they forget that not choosing is actually choosing,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
you need to have this courage and this strength in you. And the way I go about this kind of choice is, okay, let's suppose, because you need to trick your mind. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, let's suppose my choice is a bad choice.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? And
Mm-hmm.
then you start asking yourself again and again this question. And if the worst that can happen is not you dying, then
Yeah.
what are you afraid of? If you are not
Mashallah.
dying at the end, what are you afraid of? So this is how you trick your mind into like giving yourself courage to
Mm-hmm.
kind of take the decision that's more fit with what you feel your inner self is telling you.
Yeah.
And and maybe the last thing I will say to conclude is that for those kind of life-changing decisions,
Mm-hmm.
don't try to analyze. Like when I go to a store and I hesitate between two brands of tomato sauce or two brands of pasta,
Mm-hmm.
obviously I'm gonna rationalize. Like, okay, oh, let's see, oh, this that does have additives. Like, oh, how much like is the wheat is like from traditional wheat, modern wheat, is like blonde or like white wheat. I mean, I'm gonna start to rationalize, right, and put
Yeah.
like notes. But when you are taking a life-changing decision, there are so many variables that you don't have control upon that. Usually, I tend to trust more my intuition.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to trust how I feel, like how my stomach feels, because
Yeah.
usually I have like my stomach, and that's why also they say that stomach is our first brain.
Yeah.
Stomach has been the brain of humans for so long, and
Uh-huh.
if you listen to stomach, for especially for those big decisions, you will never go wrong. And in time, I learned to trust my intuition. I learned to trust my stomach, and
Mm-hmm.
as I'm trusting it more and more, it's giving me more and more good signals, right? So
Mashallah.
the more I trust him, the more it gives me good signals. And now,
Mm-hmm.
like now, and my team that is working with me is not completely accustomed to it. Like whenever they ask me to do something, I'm like, okay, let me let me sleep on that. Let me
Yeah.
let me
Right.
think about it.
Yeah.
Then I
Mm-hmm.
come and I say, I don't feel like it. And I
Yeah.
think anyone else saying that they will say, this girl is not taking decision based on facts, on data. But
Yeah.
now they know that usually I'm correct when I say that I
Yeah.
don't feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel
Mashallah.
like it. And because my intuition, my stomach is giving me the answer.
Mashallah. I was going to ask you a question and you kind of answered it while you were concluding because, in making decisions, and you say life is a choice. If I'm making a decision, it means it's like I want to transport myself from where I am to the end result, which is what I think I'll get from that decision. But I was wondering, like, okay, what is now between me and that part? I was then wondering, oh, patience, what about reality? So but when you spoke about the stomach, I saw how it can really help and just like help
Yeah.
in most cases. But now in the way the world is, we also have, yes, you could have the perfect support system set up from your uh, connection with yourself, be it from community, upbringing, spirituality. But how about the way the world is and facts around and current systems? Let's say one has an idea to do deliveries in Cameroon, right?
Mm-hmm.
First, you need to label the houses. You need to like have a
Mm-hmm.
well planned city. But what if you are having these decisions or you have these activities that you partake in that will bring you happiness and a lot of people happiness and wealth, but it's 50 or 100 years light years away from things based on the kinds of realities you have. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering how, because that seems to be the case in in the world today, and his relative in Cameroon, it could be more. So in making these decisions, then how do you reconcile such a reality and the journey and the goal in such a case? Yeah.
So I would say let's focus on the journey first, and go back to the thing that replenish your energy, right?
Yeah.
If it's a thing that replenish your journey, then you start enjoying the journey. You start getting like caring less about the end goal because you have the ultimate knowledge. It's not like even a belief. You have the ultimate knowledge that at the end, and you don't know when the end is. At the end, you're gonna achieve the goal because you are doing something that replenish your energy. Thinking about the difference between reality and what you want to achieve. I'm not saying like be another dreamer, right?
Yeah,
We
right.
have the reality that we have. I mean, you need to, and also I think that if and this is very good because if what you are thinking of doing is not in accordance with the reality and there's no way around it, your stomach will tell you there's no way around it. So you also need to be aware of the thing that you gonna have control. Like even when you decision, like think about, okay, don't feel about things that you have no control upon, right?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna do something despite all that. Let me tell you like a story. I was talking
Please.
some months ago to a venture capitalist, and then he was telling me, oh, it's good that you're in French Africa, blah blah blah, but I invested in that company and we are coming to French Africa and we're gonna take the whole market. And I was like, tiny Ejara, this company had raised millions and millions of dollars. I'm like, tiny Ejara never raised a single fund, and I'm like, bring it on.
Yeah. You'll be surprised.
You can overpower me with money, but what I have, it draws resilience and grit. You will never overpower me on that because I'm doing something I was meant to do. So I'm gonna die doing it. Are you prepared to die doing it? How much are you prepared to spend doing it? How
you have a lot to lose.
You are investing in are prepared to doing it. So bring it on. Bring it on.
Mashallah, I really observe a lot from that combative spirit. So if we look at it, and it goes back to what you're saying, it's mostly about looking at the world, or how things are, and perspective and relationships. Someone is coming to attack you at home, and he's saying, I have all these guns and money. So what he forgets is that he has all those things to lose. So if you set him a trap.
Exactly.
So if you set him a trap, So I'm just saying, I'm not saying you set that guy a trap, but imagine I'm coming and I say I have all these guns, so I can set a good trap that I can take your guns. I can set a good trap. Yeah.
And I also think that it's in the art of war of Sun Tzu that you have this general that's in a part of the book he's saying that whenever there was like this big battle and they were kind of overwhelmed with like maybe an army that was 10 times, 100 times larger than there, what he will do, like he will make sure that all the opportunities to kind of flee were erased for his tiny army, right?
Yeah, right.
Like all the roads will be blocked, like you have no
you cannot run.
You have no solution to fight. And when people are in that disposition, I mean, let me tell you, I mean, you remember the battle between like the Greek army and the Spartans, right? Like Sparta won 300 people. They won against a full army. Why is that? They were fighting for survival. They had nothing to lose. So the person that has the more to lose is the more vulnerable. But they want to make you think that they are powerful because it's the easiest way to win, because they want to win mental. They want to win your head. So you have lost when you start believing them. If you believe them, bring it on. And you tell them, and they start getting scary because they're like, oh, what is she doing? Maybe she knows something.
Yeah.
Maybe she something that they start wondering. You have shifted the balance. So yeah.
Mashallah. Hey, do you practice any kind of martial art? Because you're talking to me, I'm feeling as to fight. Like I don't know why, but I'm just pumped up in a kind of way.
Not even, no, no, not, no, I
Yeah,
don't.
I'm feeling like empowered in a kind of way. When you say that. But I mean, it's amazing how like. So when you go, you just block all your exits. See, it reminds me of Jackie Chan. When we were kids, we
Yeah,
used to say that there was this chef Bandi that beat Jackie Chan up so bad that Jackie Chan started crying and going to him like a little kid, right? Like you'll kill me today, you'll kill me today. That so the chef Bandi he didn't even know how to attack because you have spent your whole
exactly.
life learning how to fight a fighter. Then there's somebody
Mm-hmm.
around you that is just naughty and he's not following protocols. It's from then that
That's
Jackson
true.
actually had an opening. The Jackson was
That's
like, "You kill me, like just finish me." Like it was too much. They beat
yeah,
him up so bad. So he said, "You
yeah,
finish me today," and that's how he ended up winning.
yeah. You see, that's the
Yeah.
spirit.
Mashallah. So like I said we should begin from the end and then so now we can start going towards the beginning then. Since we started at the end. So I mean we've spoken about like I've learned a lot. We've spoken about time, we've spoken about connections, we've spoken about like dealing with other people, having battles, fighting, going all in and listening to yourself. Is like we are in this garden where everything we need is around us. We just need to be
Mm,
ready to receive it. You see. So now with that in place, today the world, everyone has this fever of cryptocurrencies,
mhm.
and there is a huge divide. Some people think it's absolute nonsense. Some people
Mm.
think it's a scam. Some people think it's gambling. And then even in the industry itself, you have people that say that they are following maybe they try to classify themselves as cryptocurrencies, but others say no, you're not. I mean, just the same thing like religion, right? Like
Yeah.
how they say that okay, we can eliminate all the churches because all of them are saying no, I'm the right one, this guy is wrong. So if all of them are
Yeah.
saying that all of them are wrong, then we can conclude that they're wrong and we just continue.
No,
So
that's for sure.
why did you get into this space that is so
Mm,
polarizing and what is it that clicked that made you to even stay there with all this noise and it's crazy in there?
yeah. So when I jumped into the space in late 2015, beginning 2016, I think there was less noise. It was it has already 6 years. It was still like very few people will know about it. And I remember reading this post on Quora, a social network, and what it made me imagine was like a world where everyone had a chance to fully participate in the economy.
Okay.
It was like a world that seemed fairer to me, that seemed more democratic, that seemed to empower people.
Yeah.
And cryptocurrency at that moment felt just in place. Like it felt as if, going through this internet and this democratization of information, I always felt there was something missing.
Yeah.
And that was missing was cryptocurrency and blockchain. Like, okay, let me illustrate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Please.
like every single, like every young people, each young people has access to they can create content, they can distribute content, they can publish content by themselves, right? And I was like, okay, we have brilliant people in Cameroon, in Ivory Coast, in
Yeah.
Gabon, in Nigeria, in Ghana. And instead of being only consumers, maybe they can also publish their content and start kind of selling them.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, okay, selling them, right. So how do they get paid?
Yeah.
Where do they get, like, how does it work? Like, how does like this money move around? So I think this was kind of my prime kind of the primary way I capture this kind of movement, right? It was through that aspect, like really rooted into use case.
Yeah.
The second aspect that made me fell in love with is like when I realized that using this kind of, because for me it's like it's a currency, it's a computing system, like it's everything.
Yeah,
it's
right.
like everything. And I started thinking that when internet came around, people were telling that okay, it's only for like criminals, it's only for like, because like I think the first people that adopted, every time the first people that adopted new technology are criminals, because they're always looking to to kind of disrupt the system, defy the system.
Yeah.
So people were saying that, and then people started saying, oh, internet is like a channel, right? It's gonna be, we're gonna have television, we're gonna have radio, we're gonna have internet.
Yeah.
And then today we notice that everything is on internet.
Yeah.
Television on internet, newspapers is on internet, radio is on internet. So internet wasn't another channel. It was the ultimate base layer of all channels. It was something, was a complete revolution. And then when I capture that cryptocurrencies are the same, like people are thinking today is an asset class, right? You have stocks, you have bonds, you have real estate, you have cryptos. No, the way I envision the future 10, 20 years from now is like cryptocurrencies is the base layer of everything. Real estate will be on blockchain, on crypto. Stocks will be on crypto. Bonds will be on crypto. Every single thing that means that capture value will be on crypto. It's going to be the base layer of everything that is valuable. We can already see that with the non-fungible token and the artists being able to kind of create their work, like mint it on the blockchain, selling, receiving with no intermediary. So it's like the single opportunity that artists had since they were disrupted by internet, by streaming, that dwindle their earnings. Now they are able to recover, to kind of benefit from their art. And that's also why I'm so hopeful of this crappy contemporary art, because I feel like as creators can earn like a living now, maybe they can create more beautiful things. And maybe we're gonna start looking at at Picasso, at Monet, and start looking at new creators that gonna come, because now like they can sell their art for their real worth, and they can sit idle and think about how to make the world more beautiful, like how to innovate and to do things. So this is everything kind of I see when I look at cryptocurrency. Oh, and the last thing that I also see in that is we more and more live in a virtual world, right? We live in a digital world. We have the physical world, but especially during COVID, I want every one of us to ask ourselves how often, like in a day, how many hours did you spend on internet, like in the virtual world, than in the physical world, just talking to people, right? And when you think that, why would your money be stuck only in the physical world, where like almost everything else is on digital? So you need something also. How come you can send an email and receive it in seconds, and you cannot do the same with money? So this doesn't make sense. Right? It doesn't make sense anymore.
Oh, why can I not text my house? Like a text, like why can I not text your house in Douala?
Exactly. So that's kind of that's what I see in TikTok.
Oh wow, you know that journey. It's when you tell me these stories, my mind it's just like an eruption. Like it just goes in several directions. You know, I remember when I first heard about it, I didn't know where to start. Like I didn't know where to even begin. Like I mean, that whole explosion of excitement, people's disgust for it, and then information about it. But I remember times when something clicked. Like it could be just some way of programming. Like I've realized that in crypto you could just assign things. You could be like, okay, all blue houses start with 1, and then all yellow houses start with. So that's something that is not really normal with the kind of educations that we have today with the Java schools, but when you get into the crypto space, you see some kind of brilliance. So programming becomes like a game where you're not only fighting the hacker, what you can conjure. You see, so some of those moments too really just showed me that, man, we're getting into something. But now for you, having such realizations, you decided to enable others to get onto it. Why? Why did you do
Yes.
that? How did that come about?
So I think I had my aha moments. First, I mean, two things. So
Yeah.
first, I think there were two significant things that happened, not only to me personally, to a lot of Africans,
Yeah.
but that I felt so strong and I needed to solve those challenges. The first was the debasement of CFA franc in 1994, and I really saw the distress of my parents that had money in the banks. So I felt like you are in middle class, you do everything, you earn your money, you save some, and then still you are exposed to like the exogenous factor, like someone controlling your money, deciding that it's not worth anything anymore.
Yeah.
What the heck? The second thing is, as I told you, I arrived in France at 17, and
Yeah.
since the beginning, I started finding gig works because I wanted to send money back home to my family, my friends. I mean, you always have someone in need in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Even if they need it, they will create it.
Yeah.
So you always feel like you need to send them something.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I remember thinking the fees I was paying, sending like 100 francs at the time home, was basically what I would spend on my weekly grocery shopping.
Oh,
So
wow.
sometimes I feel like, oh my goodness, I'm like my pasta and my tomato sauce, like this is what is going. I send that money, but since I believe that this person needs more than I, so I need
Yeah.
to sacrifice myself. And those were something that lie on my mind. So when I saw like this technology, I felt like, okay, it could solve those issues.
Okay.
The second moment went where, because I started my crypto journey in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So I will attend all those meetups in France and in other countries, and then also for like internet in the US. So I was really into like the US crypto system, like the
Yeah.
France crypto universe. And at the time, everyone was saying, "Oh, crypto, we're gonna bank the unbanked."
Yeah.
And I was looking at me, and I was the only black person there, the only African people, and they were all saying about they will come to save us. I'm like, no. You save us so many times.
Yeah.
You save us for slavery, you save us for colonialism. Please don't save us. Please, I need to do something about it. Like, no, we don't want you to do anything. Stay
Yeah.
where you are. Let us do the things,
Yeah.
So this is also why I decided that if not I, then who?
Mashallah.
Who am I waiting for? Who am I waiting for?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, wow. I see the core values, and then, but with all of that, I mean, I have a sense of your combative spirit, your the way you think about stuff. And I see that for someone like you just apply those to really start the company and go. But a lot of us know about entrepreneurship, about companies, but we forget a lot about our history, and we can jump ahead. But that history has more gravity. It just pull you back and suck you up so bad. You see, so I mean, an example, like you said, you look around and people say, "Oh, it's banged and banged," and I mean, history has shown you statistics. You see, so I'm curious now about the debasement of the currency of the CFI in '94. Can you please tell us about that as much as we can, so that people can know what it is and maybe how it happened?
Oh yeah, sure. So basically, I think the countries in the CFA zone through like end of the 80s to the beginning of the 90s, they had starting to experience some economic crisis, right? With like the economy between like really strained, and then maybe them needing to pull more and more foreign currencies from the reserves, because the way that our CFA currency has been negotiated after the decolonization is that we need to keep a lot of it in the coffers of France,
Yeah.
so they could maintain the stability and the pegging to euro. So as you start, maybe like we had like the oil prices diving. So it means that we were selling at a lesser price. So we were getting less dollars, for example, or less francs.
Yeah.
So we didn't have enough to compensate, like to replenish the reserve and to kind of function as a normal country.
Yeah.
And so someone decided, okay, because maybe the currency is too strong, so let's devalue the currency like in half, like before the devaluation with 100 CFA franc
Yeah.
was equivalent to one French franc, and then after no, it was 50 CFA franc was equivalent to one a French franc, and after the devaluation, you needed 100 CFA franc to have one French franc.
Yeah.
The premise
Sense too.
of that from the IMF was, okay, this will kind of boost the exports, at
Yeah.
the and maybe lesser the imports, so that the country will need less foreign currency to buy stuff outside, and it will boost the industry on the ground. But it was just like a game of I don't know, of hypocrites,
Yeah.
because industry is not about just slashing the money, right?
Yeah, right.
Boosting
True.
industry is investing heavily into infrastructures.
Yeah.
Where are the ports? Where are the infrastructure to for electricity? How are we gonna build the plants? Build first the plant. Start first, like industry, especially in those areas where we do import a lot of goods, so that when you do that kind of monetary policy,
Yeah.
people have no reason than to consume local.
Yeah,
But
right.
if there's nothing produced locally, like how is it? The only result that the only thing that resulted from that decision was poorer countries, because we were still importing like everything at the same pace, but paying 2 times more, right?
Yeah.
And then government has less money to invest in schools, to invest. I think that's when they test like the kind of worsening of all our infrastructure, hospitals,
Yeah.
schools, everything. I know that we tend to usually blame, like, oh, we have poor elites, we have corruption everywhere. But I
Yeah.
tend to say there are poor elites. Elites have failed the people everywhere that you look at, like in France, in the US. The corruption is also everywhere. The problem we have in our country is that the cake is smaller. Like the cake is really, really smaller, and everyone else around us is playing against us. Like the cake is smaller, meaning that if you only have like 1,000, right? Like 1,000 to share among your people, and then someone comes and steal like 100.
Yeah.
This is like a lot, because the 1,000 maybe barely covers already the need of the country.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have like 1 million, even if someone steal like 50% of it, because it's way above your basal needs, you don't really feel it, and the people still feel like, okay, there's less corruption. No, actually, there's more corruption, whatever the way you look at it, in terms of volume or in terms of percentage.
Yeah.
But the feeling is different, right? This is the first thing. The second thing is that even you have this 1,000, and you have like someone slice and take 100, and then you go around and you try to lend some money. I mean, you try to, like, as a country, what you do, you emit some bonds. You go on the capital market. Say, oh, look at these bonds. Like, could you read this bond? And then I want to take a loan to build some things in my countries.
Yeah.
Let me illustrate. Like recently during COVID, I think Ivory Coast, or it was Senegal or Ivory Coast, maybe it was Senegal. It was Ivory Coast. So they went out there to take a loan, like from the capital markets. And I remember seeing that the loans were priced at almost 6% interest rates per year. And if you look at the riskiness of Ivory Coast as a country, especially given his history of constant growth of GDP above like 7%, and you compare to a country like Portugal, it's kind of similar risk, right?
Yeah.
But Portugal go on capital markets and is able to to borrow some money at 1%, whereas Ivory Coast borrow at 6%. The
Yeah, I
difference
see.
between those is an hospital or two hospitals getting built every single year in Ivory Coast. So
Yeah.
imagine the impact of people. And nobody tells us that. Everybody keeps like saying the simple thing, oh, our elites, our government. Yes, of course, they do have a responsibility. But to be honest, we are not helped. Like everybody else is working against us. So that's also why I have a deep belief in the communities, because
Yeah.
when you have a leader, look at Satoshi Nakamoto who created Bitcoin. We have no leaders in Bitcoin, and it's
Yeah.
working fine. If we did have a leader, everybody would have certainly put him in jail, torture him to unlock the codes, to
Yeah.
put the bugs, and make the system fall. But because it's spread, because it's communities, who are you gonna how can I say that, like beheaded? Who are you gonna
Everyone.
behead?
Everyone.
Which
You kill
Yes,
us all.
yes, yes, exactly. So if us as African, we start taking manner in our arms, working as communities and working with other communities, because even elites are not representative of countries. Look at how like the crypto communities works.
Yeah.
Like when I talk to the crypto people in Israel, in Russia, in the US, in New York, in Silicon Valley, I mean, everywhere, we're talking the same language.
Yeah.
We are aligned in everything. We are aligned in the vision we want for this world. We are aligned in the values we share. So what if we start working together? We don't even look at what elites are doing. We don't even look at what they are thinking. We just build. We just build from the ground up. What kind of work could it make? I'm eager to see that work, and I'm confident that this work is certainly better than the current one, and it's certainly better than the one we would have if we had a single leader coming in and in time trying to think that he's like the smartest people in the world and become like an autocrat and everything. So that's my belief.
Wow. I once had this fear that, like, once I took a philosophy course, postmodernism. Once we studied colonialism, I was asking that, how could we have colonial masters and then they formed an organization to help us? How does that happen? Like, to date, I've not been able to answer that question. Like, it's like the lion will form a committee to take care of goats. You see, like, it's I still really want to understand that, but you have actually frightened me more now, because it's like, okay, and that may lead us to our next thing, to really understand what money is, because from you explaining how these things happen, it's a very tricky business that one really has to look like in between the lines or in between the banknotes to know what's going on. But when we look at that, how then, or how could it be that you would have, let's say, colonial masters and the rest, those are predators, right? And then you have the how do you call this thing? The oppressed, they're the prey. So the predator creates money or introduces money that they are the ones that handle it. Let me use the word, fix it for you. Like,
Yes.
so how dangerous is that? Or how good is that? Yeah, like, I'm sure these are the same questions.
And Brian, this is like basically a question I like, because it reminds me of questions someone sometimes say, oh, but if we allow this Bitcoin thing, these crypto things to kind of take off, it
Yeah.
means that we're gonna be losing sovereignty, right?
Yeah.
And I do recognize that as a country, you have unique interests, you have unique struggle that could mean that you need to have your own monetary policy. But then, when you are under a currency that you don't control, you
Yeah.
don't fix, I mean, what kind of sovereignty are you talking about? I mean, be honest.
Yeah.
You have none today. The difference between today and tomorrow is that today you have none, but someone else has.
Yeah.
And tomorrow you have none and no one has,
Yeah.
because it's apolitical, because it's a borderless currency, because it's like for everyone, it's for the people. Not a single entity has a full control on it. So this is the difference between today, when you don't have control,
Yeah.
but you relinquish it to someone else, and tomorrow where you don't have control, but you relinquish it to the communities and the masses. And then when you use the currency, nobody can distinguish like this currency is the same currency, is the same Bitcoin. We cannot know that this Bitcoin belongs to a Cameroonian kid that is there, or belongs to a Chinese kid. Or
Yeah.
whereas when you pay with CFA franc, we already brand you. It's from Francophone Africa.
Yeah.
I'm better because I have like maybe renminbi, maybe I have like I don't know, US dollar. So
You're
I'm
right.
better.
Yeah.
Nobody is everybody is equal when we all use Bitcoin, when we all use this borderless currency, right? And then
That's
you start envisioning like this without frontiers. So for me, like Bitcoin happening is already a done deal. So I'm already fast forwarding it 20 years from now. I'm like, oh, 20 years from now, maybe the struggle will be, why do we need passport? Now that we have created this borderless currency, this borderless society, this borderless way of doing finance,
yeah.
why do we still need the borders? Why do we even still need countries? Like, how can we create like in the models of villages, like the distributed, like the decentralized autonomous organization, and
Yeah.
then those autonomous organization could kind of run, and this would also have created a new kind of political system. Because for me, since like they created like communism, capitalism, and everything, nothing else got created. And also because we don't have people sitting idle and thinking of evolved system, right?
Yeah.
What if this was the system? What if next will be like, how do we do governance? How do we make? I mean, yes, I'm a dreamer. Maybe
No. It makes a
some
lot
people
of sense, and
have,
I'm really
so,
thinking.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm really thinking because now that you're saying that, what I'm thinking is, okay, most of the technologies we use today, the richest people in the world, they are above 50 or 60, for example. So we have not really seen any innovation that apart from like music. I mean, people can dance critically anywhere in the world, but again, that's also some kind of a different domain. When we talk about transforming the things like penicillin and stuff that like things that will change
Yes.
generations, we have not yet really harvested things. I mean, outliers like Mark Zuckerberg, but those are not revolutions. They just applied. They actually scaled what was there. You see, so when we look at the current generation and even those coming after, and if I look at how they can adapt to current technologies and if they would live or survive with such technologies, I'm not convinced. But if I look at the crypto space, I see tools that the current technology kids can adapt to. Practical example: when I look at my kid and I imagine him driving a tractor and stuff, it doesn't really click. You see, I mean, I'm not saying he can't drive it, but I just mean that it's just too normal. You see, but
Yeah.
I can imagine him in a world where like we're saying, you text somebody a house. Like I can imagine him in a world where the kinds of challenges that he would have is to integrate systems that can scale from anywhere in the world, but being able to deal with his assets in the same way that he can like something on Facebook or comment on something. Like I intend to see them use technology like that. You see.
Let me, while you were talking about that, I was thinking, I love when I was in Europe, I love going to museums, right? I love like going there, like, walk around and, feeling the energy, trying to imagine like the life of the creators and everything.
Yeah.
And it's something I really miss. I really miss coming back because we don't have that many of those.
Yeah.
And now the NFTs going around, I'm like, since we still live in the virtual world, what if they could put like everything the Louvre on NFT,
Yeah.
and I could walk into the Louvre, with my
Yeah.
kids, and then telling them, and then it will also have this cachet of authenticity. It's not the same as just putting digital picture,
Yeah.
because when you look at the authentic paintings, you feel the authenticity somehow, you feel
Yeah.
the uniqueness. So it will be the same with the non-fungible token of the painting getting like display in a virtual museum where you can run around with your kids and show him. And then maybe I feel like, because I think part of the energy and the emotion you also feel is like, that you're in front of a unique piece. You're
Yeah.
in front of an authentic piece.
Yeah.
So the blockchain can also transmit that. So this is what I was also thinking. Like
Mashallah.
there's so
Yeah.
many different ways to consume things now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And there are some comments all through. I think we have Duchess. She captured the most of the, just a fraction of the brilliant things you were pouring out here. So, we have Baptiste Andrew. That's his great podcast. Thank you. It's thanks to wonderful guests like Nelly and the people that get here. And Duchess is energy draining and energy replenishing work. I think it's like, I actually remember this. Your energy ad, like, and it was really fascinating because I saw the connect. It's very subtle. Like, it is for example, right? I was managing 5 projects last year October. So there was a time when all of them are going to production the same week, and I guess you know that process, like catching up with UAT, syncing things here, then build pipelines failing, and all of those things. That's when scripts will decide not to work. So, and then my son was born. So there was a day that I knew I was gonna pass out. That's the day I knew I was gonna like collapse. Like you said, it's the day I know that I'm going to die today.
Yeah.
And then he was born, and so it's like I was like, all of that tiredness was like lifted away, and
Yes.
so I don't know what happened, but that's what it reminded me of. Like when you said that, this experience that I'd been up for days. You know, you do all nighter after all nighter. You know that it's today that 12 o'clock will not meet me, and then that happened.
Exactly. All done to that moment. And I think you just put your finger on something special there. Like when you're able to kind of think of a simple moment, a single moment, when you experience that alignment, you know the feeling of it.
Yeah, I
So
know.
keep looking for that feeling. Keep looking for that feeling. If you don't know what replenishing your energy means, think about this feeling. Think of a single moment where you could work like 48 hours straight, like where you could do something like maybe when you were a kid, maybe
Yeah.
it was. So
Night
think
vigil.
of this
Night
moment.
vigil in
Feel
church.
it. Exactly. Feel it.
Yeah.
Feel it. Capture it. Put it in a bottle and then keep looking for it.
Mashallah, thank you. And then Mick Jones, thank you. She says, don't let fear hinder you from making the choice of a life-changing decision. The worst that can happen is death. So, but if your choice is not going to kill you, then it's worth trying. Like, I'm gonna have gray hair after this from like the wisdom, the wisdom that I'll be getting.
So Brian, we started and you were telling, oh, there are no philosopher anymore. I have to go look at Plato and everything.
Right.
Look now,
Mashallah, it's amazing. And then we have Conrad. So Conrad, hey Conrad. Conrad says that let's not push Bitcoin to spheres beyond its limit. Lol. Countries take their sovereignty very seriously, and we fight to keep their passports. No humanity likes creating groups. Humanity likes creating groups, and they will fight and die for that. On the other hand, decentralized governance is a concept I am not exactly overthrilled about. So this is interesting. I think we should touch on this a little. Yeah. So
No,
yeah.
I
Sorry.
mean, yeah. No, you're right. I mean, and he's completely right. Like all the countries seems attached to sovereignty, but I think they're attached to the idea, to the concept. Because to be honest, apart from United States, I don't know if there is a single other country that has sovereignty. Because when you have like the reserve currency being the US dollar, when you have everything denominated in US dollar, when you have the US dollars law, the US law being like predominant. I mean, basically, the Americans guy are saying our law supersedes all your laws, and that's why even if America enacts a law saying, okay, right now all trades with Iran are banned. If you are a company in Switzerland or in Sweden doing business in Iran, they
Yeah.
will find a way to apply the law on you. How will they do that?
Yeah.
Because since the US currency is the currency of trade, is the currency of commerce, is the monetary reserve. So it means that if you are a Swedish company and if you do businesses with others, you're gonna at some point use dollars. And
Yeah.
when you use dollars, then they say, oh, you use our currency, so you are under our sovereignty. We apply our law. You transacted with Iran, so you're gonna pay a FT fine.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. A lot of countries saying that they are sovereign, but how many of them are really? So
Yeah.
at a higher level, I will argue that only the United States today is sovereign. But then at some maybe like lesser level, I will say that maybe the European Union, maybe those kind of more developed countries are
Yeah.
too.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you are Benin, when
Yeah.
you are Mali, when you are Burkina Faso. I mean, why do you care? Do you really think that your main kind of concern is like this concept of sovereignty?
Yeah.
Your main concern should be like, how do we make sure that our country is like educate their youth? How do we make sure that we preserve the health of our citizens for the longer term? How do we? These are your concerns. You are still at the lowest base of the pyramid. I mean, let's not concern yourself with things like on the Maslow pyramid. For me, sovereignty is like the tip of the pyramid. So
Mm-hmm.
why go there when we're still at the base level?
Yeah.
It's only because those developed countries mess up with our mind. They mess up with our brain. They make us believe that you should aspire for that sovereignty. You should aspire for that. No, don't aspire for that. Aspire for hospitals. Aspire for like it.
Mashallah. You know, like when I think, thanks for that. Like, it gets me thinking a lot. If we look at even the word sovereignty, right? Let's kind of, I mean, the closest things we could equate it to would be like power, autonomy. I mean, if we look at its properties, autonomy.
Yeah.
So now I watch a lot of anime. I watch ninjas fighting all the time and samurai, and there what I understood about power is that power makes you calm. Power makes you not fear. So if you're using words like sovereignty and then saying countries will not leave it, it's almost as though they are taking it dissolves that confidence that comes with the word sovereignty. I don't know if you see what I mean. Like, if you sound as though, let's look at the US dollars. If you sound as though maybe if people use Bitcoin, that is going to lose its sovereignty, then why use the word sovereignty? I don't know if you see what I mean. So yeah. So I mean, when we look at that, then Conrad, I don't know. Plus, what Nelly has said, like it's also about steps, right? Look at Africa, and as we're going, why should you just skip steps when? If you're building a skyscraper, you don't have the foundation. How will you put the 12th floor? You see what I mean? Yeah.
And also, maybe to give hope to convert. Maybe what I felt when you read his comment is like hopelessness, right?
Yeah.
What can we do? Like they will battle. You are hopeful, but they will battle.
Yeah.
Like think about like a few centuries ago, right?
Yeah.
There was this kind of alignment between church and state. And at that point, I think the people living in that age would argue that it's impossible. Like it's impossible to disentangle like church and state because the church will fight and it will never happen because basically emperors, all the kings, like they were to put like churches and popes like above everything else.
Yeah.
And somehow, somewhere, someday it happened. So let's not look at maybe the last 100 years. The last 100 years means nothing when you look at history.
Yeah.
The human count is like thousand years.
Yeah.
So what we are saying might not happen in the next 20 years, 40 years, but if it will happen, it will happen. So think about it as, history writes itself on thousand and thousand years. the last 100 years is not predictive of anything at all. So, but to go there, we need to go from step, right? So we were able to disentangle church and state. I
Yeah.
think at some point we are currently battling to disentangle money and state. And I
Mashallah.
think for 2 generations from now, our grandkids will say they were stupid. How could they have given the power of their money to the state? As now we are, our great ancestors were stupid. How could they have let the church have powers over the state?
Yeah.
So
And burn them and burn people.
the same feeling will also happen. So yeah.
Mashallah. Thanks for summarizing that. So correct. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to the decentralized part too because there's a lot to unwrap from that. And thanks a lot. That separation and that progression, just like how if we find meaning in words, then there is the meaning. There's something that there's a reason why humans are born with no fur on their body, no knives. They don't come with like weapons or their nails that are like weapons. We just come like that. Everything is in here in the head, and then we start making magic up from that. So if you believe in what it means to be human, there are lots of things,
Yeah.
and also really, I sense a lot of fear. Fear. Yeah, let me say that fear, and I sense a lot of. I sense this game where when people approach information, especially now in the cryptocurrency space, they are almost just coming to show how wrong it is. You see, I don't know why. Like, I'm wondering, like, if even with religion, right? Why should I deny a religion or hear from somebody that is not really an expert? Or let me simplify it. I used to think that for me to dismiss, let's say, algebra, I should be able to listen to the best algebraists. Is that how they call it? Like the best, let's say geometer. I should be able to listen to the best geometer tell me that geometry is nonsense, and he proves to me with all the expertise that he has amassed. Then I'll say geometry is nonsense. You see, then for me to meet somebody that doesn't even know geometry and they're telling me geometry is nonsense. So that happens a lot with the media, and when is the same like when Galileo was trying to figure out things like gravity and build modern physics. The church actually jailed him, and he said, look, the Bible says what things are me, I'm trying to find out how. So in the same way that the church really kind of, I can say, strangled science and the rest, perhaps we should open our minds to the case where the reality is handled by us, so that when we make mistakes, we can learn, we can adapt, and we can move easily. So, but that aside, then, how does this fit with decentralization? Like, because in the crypto space, people talk about, they'll throw words like decentralization. Those are things that are around us, but when people start fearing it, they want to poke holes, they are worried. Like, so Conrad's last sentence is, on the other hand, decentralized governance is a concept I am not exactly overthrilled about. So can you help us distill this whole concept of decentralization, what it is, and maybe its advantages and the glories that we're able to harvest from it so far?
Yeah. So I'm gonna move first to your first image. These kind of people not being experts and trying to critics and and to downplay this technology.
Yeah.
And while we were speaking, I was like, to be honest, it's a blessing to be ignorant, because you bask in your ignorance and you are able to say the dumbest stuff with so much conviction, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a curse to be smart. It's a curse to be someone that reads, that go deep into things, because like, ignorant have it easy. It's easy to say stuff. It's easy to say stuff very loudly. It's easy to act as if because you bask in ignorance. So, to be honest, to all the people out there like that, I really envy your life.
Yeah.
I wish my brain was working like that. I wish I was that kind of person, because I will be maybe more, I will be happier than I am now.
Yeah.
Let's go to the decentralization concept.
Yeah.
I think the best way to describe is taking like example as always.
Yeah.
Like when the fathers or internet created, because people look at internet and sometimes people tell me, oh, blockchain is so complicated. I won't even buy Bitcoin. I don't understand blockchain. Take some time, explain it to me for the next 6 months, and then I'm gonna buy. And I ask them two things. First, do you know how your engine, the engine is your in your car works? Why do you drive a car if you cannot tell me the difference between like different engines?
Yeah.
The second question is, do you know what is internet? Do you know that the base layer of internet is a protocol called TCP/IP? Do you know like all the layers that were added, the SMTP to make the mails, the
HTTP for web.
yes. Did you even try to understand those base layer before using your email? No.
Yeah.
So
Mashallah.
and when I look at the internet, the people that created internet, they kind of gifted it to the world, right? They didn't put any patents, and that's why all those companies were able to build upon internet. And you illustrate it like Zuckerberg, like the likes of Sergey Brin and Larry Page when they built Google on top of internet, and it was free, so it was perfect. But they took something free, something that was for humanity, to confiscate most of the value. So with internet, the humanity has created like a significant amount of wealth, but this wealth is confiscated by tiny number of organizations, and this is called centralization.
Yeah.
I was really shocked, like when I read these specs, like all those startups raising millions, hundreds of millions, they end up using at least 1/3 of it to pay for acquisition on Google, on Facebook, and everything.
Yeah.
So everything goes back to like 3 or 4 countries in the world, right?
Yeah.
This is called centralization.
Yeah.
So the other illustration of centralization is like you own a bank account and you feel like it's your money. I mean, obviously, you put your money, you have like a nice interface that show you I have 10,000. But basically, it's a game, right? You don't have 10,000 anywhere. The bank doesn't have your money.
Yeah.
So you feel like you have this money. And one day, like during the 2008 crisis, what happened in Cypriot?
Yeah.
So this is like a European island.
Yeah.
So the banks were bankrupt. And then the government wanted to save the bank, but the government didn't have money. So they thought, oh, you know what? Let's just go and fetch some money on the account of the people that deposited. Everyone that has above 100,000 euro, let's just take what is above and refinance you. So now, do you really own your money? This is called centralization. You think you own your money, but someone has the control. Someone can seize it. Someone can freeze it. If you want to transfer your money, like more than 10,000 from your account to another, they're going to ask you, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Can you prove you really own it in the first place? Can you give us the reason you send it to that person? Who is that person? I mean, what the heck? You earn the money. You pay the taxes. Why do you want to justify all those? Why? This is called centralization. So not being sure about centralization for me is like, oh, I'm not so sure about this thing called end of slavery. We should have just slaves, right? Because it was so nice. We were fed. We had tiny houses. We had our families. We were working all together as a happy family in the cotton fields. Oh, from time to time, we were beaten. Our mothers were raped. But who cares? We were really in a tiny house, a cute house.
Yeah.
We were working together as a family. Yes, it was good times, right? So please, I mean, it's not about like, please stop being theoretical.
Yeah.
When you centralization, think about your life. Think about where it is and ask yourself, is there a better system? What are the pain points you currently experience? How can decentralization solve those pain points? And if it can solve, stop being about theories, be more practical. And that's why I'm asking, and that's also why I'm saying it's so good to be like someone that just reads stuff and believe in them, just bask in them, because it makes your life easier,
Yeah. And again, if I have to keep thanking, I will need to create a big carton and just be packing the tanks in there, and it needs to be big. So there's a question about Ejara, but I would like to drop something to on decentralization. When you were talking, you mentioned Cyprus, right? How the government
Yeah.
wanted to bail out the people, or some the economy, even the government didn't have money, and
Yeah.
it's funny. See how this comes together. It's funny how on the plane they say that even if it's your kid, don't save the kid if you have not saved yourself. So you cannot
Yes.
want to give the kid the oxygen mask when you don't have yours. So when you explaining that, that's the image that came to my mind. And mind you, when you're on the plane, I don't know if now they have internet. When you're on the plane, you don't have internet connection. So if you're using a centralized service that there's only one center where you have to connect to use services, then when you're on the plane, you cannot do that connection. And that's why like programmers really enjoy Git, right? Because it's decentralized. Once I have my local repo, I can always do what I want, and it gives me protocols and means to communicate, to connect with other people using Git. So now, if I'm on the plane and it so happens I'm inspired and I want to start doing my calculations for my wealth and my life, and then I can't connect to my bank account from the plane, like
Yeah.
that's decentralization. So and you see
Yeah.
now that if it was decentralized and you could walk with your assets and the buildings you have, your boats, your tokens, and everything, you could be on that plane. You don't need the internet. You don't need some central location to give you permission to access your own assets and give you stuff like that. And you can really think, and we can move with ourselves, just like how those who read the Bible, Jacob.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, continue.
yeah.
You know those guys that he will travel with 500 goats, 500 goats, 2 wives, 12 sons,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Sorry, anyway, continue, yeah.
So now Jacob can tokenize his wives and
Yeah,
sons,
and
right?
travel with them, like how they used to travel.
No, but we had the same thought, because when you were speaking, I was thinking about the life of a refugee, right? All those sister and brother trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea and find a better life.
Yeah.
So when they do that and they travel with their wealth, they travel with some gold, with some paper money, they are at the mercy of chiefs and everything. What if they only had to remember those 12 words,
Yeah.
those 12 magic words that were their fortune? So they could travel really lightly. They wouldn't be so much at the mercy. They would be at the mercy, but they would say, I have nothing. When they would search them, they would have almost nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe they could keep a little bit just to say, okay, this is everything I have.
Yeah.
And when they have a destination, they could have their wealth and they could start a life anew. But it goes even more beyond. It goes beyond money. It goes like, I still remember this corpse of a 9-year-old killed that was retrieved in the sea. I think it was in Italy, and he had sew inside his shorts his notes, his school notes, to show that he was like the top of his class, right?
Yeah.
So like, trying to reach this new country, he wanted to prove that I'm smart, as I'm a smart kid, I deserve to be put in school and everything. That kid had made it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the paper would have nothing. What if back in his country, this paper will have be put on a decentralized system, blockchain, that could certify that it was authentic, that could certify that it was really linked to him, to his achievement, and the kid reached the destination, and suddenly everyone else can verify that this kid has had like a long life, a long short life of great achievement. He's a brilliant kid. He was already top of his class in maths, and look at it, look at that. So these kids will have a better chance to integrate in that new society. That's what decentralization is about. And that's also why I keep saying, please don't just stuck at a word, Try to go further, try to imagine real people, real life, real things behind it. And suddenly it's not, you're not against or for, you cannot be against, because this is life. This is the real impact on real people.
Mashallah. That was a very great question then, because it really got us thinking. So since in Cameroon we always have problems with light, right? So imagine a world where instead of you waiting for Sonet to send you light, each person has his own silent generator, but that generator can text each other fuel. If you, because if we have our own generator, if my neighbor lacks fuel, I could give my neighbor fuel. My neighbor could give me fuel. We could decide that you give me fuel, I mow your lawn, or my neighbor Nelly has speaking of pasta and things here. So I could say, okay, Nelly, if I give you fuel, and then you give me pasta, you see that we will not need Sonel to send us that light where they're sending and taking, or they're sending and taking before it even gets to your house and things like that. You see that Sonel does not have central control over that electricity. And just look at the kinds of activities that we can build on top of this system where we all have our own generators. Not only can we use fuel to exchange stuff as motivation for as a base to do things, but we can also do a lot of things, because there's some people that could say that, okay, we have a party, and for us to throw that party, my small generator cannot, the neighbors will bring it, community that you speak about. You see that there's a lot of things that can be erected on top of decentralization, because it allows us to be autonomous. It makes it, you're like a robot that you can, and that's what it means to be human, to be able to adapt, to be able to evolve. If you are waiting for some central command, then you may not hear the alarm on time. What if the general, you've seen movies, right, where the general has to say fire, but the army is already there before the general says fire? You see what I mean?
And I like what you said about this is what makes us human, because few minutes ago you say, oh, we are born, we don't have clothes, we don't have big teeth, we don't have like large mouths, we don't have like we are not the strongest, the fittest in the ecosystem in the world, and still humanity has prevailed. Think about all huge animals. How can humanity prevail against a lion, against an elephant? And you know what is our secret? Our secret is two things: is the capacity of organizing in communities, because when you are a community, you are stronger. And it's also, the second thing is our capacity to imagine the possibilities, to imagine what is not there. That's are the two characteristics that made us prevail. Because before you even start thinking of like making a knife, or like making a gun, I mean, you have to imagine it. You have to imagine something. You have
lot that
to
goes
think about
into
something,
that.
you know. Yes. So that's really the essence of humanity, and we lost it. And when we talk about decentralization, we basically talk about communities. When I talk about this possible future, and people are telling me, oh, I think you are far-reaching. This is about being human. We kept reaching far. Like Elon Musk is trying to put us to space. He's trying to colonize space. This is humanity. This is how we are. This is why we prevail. So yeah.
Thanks for that. So I remind you again what said we'll begin from the end. We went towards the middle, so we have to start ending towards the start. You see. So Mikael has actually asked a question, but before that, she says that Mick Jones says information is power. Oh, she was quoting you. Bitcoin's borderless currency. Sounds like with time we wouldn't be needing passports to travel around the world. Thanks, Madame Chatué-Diop. And then she says information is power. I admire the way you express yourself confidently, Madame Nelly. So then,
thank you so much.
Then her question is wait, let me see if I should ask that question now, or 1 minute, let me think. So, anyway, before I ask this question, right? Look at the human brain. Look at the Google data center. If the Google has to model how the brain, let's say I eat for an arrow, and then Google has infinite resources, so they have to like simulate everything that happens when I eat arrow. They will need a data center that they will need a data center that is way bigger than America. But me, this small brain that does all those things, it's not up to a battery. It uses how many volts? It uses how many volts to process all of that information. So you see how even if we have to look at centralized, we can't even be centralized enough to handle the human being. So there's no need for us to centralize things because we will be wasting. It's not efficient. So I think now I can ask the question. So Mika says, what's Ejara about and how does it benefit our community?
Okay.
So you see how we're going to the beginning?
Yeah, exactly. So Ejara is a mobile app that is built on a blockchain layer, and that aspires of democratizing access to financial assets to mainstream Africa, starting with Francophone Africa. Cameroon be bilingual recognized, but still it's considered part of Francophone Africa and its diaspora. So many things are important in what I said, blockchain-based layer, because at the heart of Ejara, we are a non-custodial wallet, meaning that we are this safe, this digital safe, where you can store your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Tezos, and you are the sole owner of your key. So it means that when you create an account on Ejara, Ejara never has your key. Like every single customer, one key. And that is why I say the base layer is really blockchain, is the true purpose of blockchain. It's about decentralization. The second I mentioned is giving access to financial assets, because when I was in Europe and I started my investment journey, I would invest in things like stocks, in bonds, in mutual funds, in real estate. I would invest in commodities, buying silver, buying gold, buying platinums. And when I was asking my friends that stayed in Cameroon or in Africa for that matter, oh, I have some cash, I want to invest in Cameroon. Where should I invest? People were telling me, oh, you should build a building and then rent some apartments. Oh, you should start raising pigs. It pays a lot. Oh, you should buy cattle. I mean, be honest. I mean, I don't feel like raising pigs. I mean, why do I need? I mean, I want to invest. Why do I do send me raising pigs? I don't want to invest in a building and rent. I mean, you know how much it costs. Like, I don't have. I mean, I just want to invest with like 10,000 CFA francs. Yeah. So no solution was available. So Ejara aspires to be that tool that gives access to not only Bitcoin, Ethereum, cryptocurrencies, but also soon we're gonna offer fractional shares. Meaning that fractional shares. It means that in Cameroon, Ivory Coast, you're gonna be able to buy for 10,000 CFA francs of a fraction of a shares of Google, a fraction of a shares of Apple, a fraction of a shares of Tesla, and start to fully participate in that worldwide economy, right? Because if you look at Facebook, the way for me Facebook creates value, it's like all those people that are always there creating content, interacting. And us Africans, we are pretty much a large part of that value, but we don't benefit from it. The only way to benefit from it is to be shareholders. So the thing is like, let's continue to use Facebook instead of being only consumers. Let's buy some shares, because as we use it and we make this company more valuable, let's also benefit from it. The last part of the answer was French Africa and the diaspora. And when I say French Africa, I'm not talking only about the cities. Last weekend, my team were in Ebolova to do some meetups. We plan to go to Maroua, to Gaoundéré, to Boya, to Limbe, to Koseri. We plan to go everywhere. We plan to do the same in every single country in Francophone Africa. Our aim is to be like that unique platform where you have the diaspora. So our family that went abroad in the US, in Asia, in Europe, and the people back on the continent, be it in urban cities or in villages or in small cities, to fully be in this single platform, where then as community, we can start inventing ourselves the services we need to power our community. So that's what Ejara is for me, and that's what I aspire Ejara to be for you.
Mashallah. So those in Cameroon, and I mean in Africa and everywhere, the whole world. I mean, there's something coming. Then we should not. There's coming. It's already there. We should then be thinking, and you know, if you go to school and then they give you a report card or they give you a degree, some people jubilate and they're happy, but I don't know if you're happy because you have learned, or if you're happy because of the pictures and the clothing. I'm asking because like I just feel like I had an epiphany. You see, just listening how you're explaining this, the logic behind it. Like if you are using Facebook, you should be able to also have a stake in it. So if you have a platform that can allow you to capture your likes, to allow you to capture the value in your likes, to capture the value in your shares, the countless hours that we spend on Facebook to actually gain from that, as opposed to just be losing from it. It blows my mind. I feel like I
Yeah.
don't have a certificate, but I'm happier than the person that graduated and is taking pictures.
Sure. Definitely.
Mashallah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So is there? We've been speaking for like 1 hour 45 minutes. Like I know we can talk forever, but this is just like,
Yeah.
just this is like a beep. So it's just a beep to see whether that phone number is going through. So those that are listening expect so just know that this channel is, we're just beeping to see if this is working. So we'll have a lot of chats to do. But is there anything that I didn't ask that you would like to say to people, especially those? I mean, think of the future generations. Think of like anyone, any human with a mind. Anything that I didn't ask that you can capture and say to them before we split.
So I hoped that I had that question. Oh, I really like this thing about blockchain, Bitcoin. Like, how do I participate? What do I do? Like, I'm 18, I'm 17, I'm 16. Why do I do? And I'm gonna tell you, don't buy a trading class. Don't buy like a trading training, how to become a trader and everything. For me, it's a bullshit, but then we're going to discuss about it in another topic. And I'm
Yeah.
sure we could spend like an hour on that topic again.
Yeah.
Try to think about how do I become a programmer in that space? How do I start getting some knowledge to fully participate and contribute in that space? Like, what is a blockchain? What is a protocol? What is a smart contract? Where do I get this training? There are free training out there. So I will want all the kids out there, all the younger people and the less young people, instead of asking themselves, how do I get rich quick? How do I buy like at 1x and it makes 10x in 1 week? To start capitalizing on long-term gratification and putting 6 months work, not more, 6 months, putting the 6 months work to fully participate in that space. If you manage to train yourself into blockchain and you still have no job, come find me. Ping me on Twitter, ping me on Facebook. I have so many friends looking for people across the world that I'm sure 100% I could find you a work. So that's the one thing I want to tell people. I think maybe the last thing will be, we as Africans, we spend the last kind of years being afraid of everything. And in that process of being afraid, we lost ourselves. So afraid of everything. And sometimes we are afraid because, as I said, ignorance is a bliss. You just don't take them. Sometimes I see people just being afraid just because they didn't read their rights, right? They don't even know, like, okay, you are right, you know? You don't need, the person in front of you needs to be afraid. The law is on your side.
Yeah.
So, and because those situations where injustice is done are kind of the ones that are more in the media, we don't see a lot of those situations where at the end of the day, the people that has the law for it is the winner. So, like, educate yourself, because this is the foundational layer of everything, and then everything else will align.
Mashallah. So, I mean, so guys, where else can you really go on a Friday and have a chat and feel entertained, educated, and feel like, I mean, I'm sure if it's the first time to hear this kind of chat, you're probably feeling like you've been baptized or you've been born again. I'm glad to have hosted Nelly. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the energy. Thanks for the thoughts. I have my notes here. I'm going to look at them again. I will take a long walk and think about all the things you've said and try to adapt. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. I've just seen a comment from Mick Jones. She says, Ejara head office, physical location and contact information. I think she's asking, I have the page. Let me just share my screen.
Exactly. Share the page and yes.
Yeah,
you have an office in Douala, a physical place. So
yeah, let me share
to
for you to
send a message. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Mick Jones Duchess. So this is Ejara.io, and
Yes.
let's say
The
company.
the Facebook page maybe.
Yeah. You want me to go to the Facebook page?
Yeah, I mean, or she can just go to the Facebook page, send us a message, and we are always very quick to answer.
Oh,
and,
contact. It took me to email. Yeah, but if you ask to email too, when you click on contact us, it's gonna open your. That's what I noticed. It will open your mail client, so you can send an email. Yeah. So, but for those watching, this is it. This is Oops, did I click on the right thing?
Yeah, FAQ.
Yeah, okay, yeah, these are the questions. So if you also want to learn French, like you want to, I love to read French. It sharpens my brain. So yeah, so this is it. Don't forget, Michael is ejara.io. IO stands for input output, so just do ejara.io and you'll be able to get that. So again, I can't thank you enough, Nelly. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for your time in terms of me as a person, me as someone that my therapy is discussing with people like this. And this podcast today was like, I really like enjoyed it. So thanks a lot. Please consider this.
Thank you.
Yeah, please consider this like the first out of a countless number of episodes that we can do. Yeah.
With pleasure. It was a sheer pleasure for me. I had felt natural. It felt like a conversation. It felt like we didn't have to pretend. Like you can see that I learned English. I learned French before learning English. I didn't care. I wanted to speak with like Brian, and you are doing a fantastic job. I think I had not podcast long before you contacted me. So great job. Keep doing that, and the future we are dreaming is already there for us. It might take a little bit more months, years for other people to see it. But because we see it, we know other people will come into our realm. So,
Mashallah. Yeah.
Thank you,
Nelly. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye. Have a great one. Yeah. Bye.